All right, let's just dive straight into this explainer. Look, the CAT exam is notorious, right? For so many, it's the ultimate gateway to India's top business schools, specifically the IIMs. And honestly, its reputation can absolutely terrify students. So if you're sitting there right now, feeling the intense heat of a ticking clock, maybe wondering if you've started your prep way too late for CAT 2026, take a deep breath. This is exactly where you need to be. We're going to unpack a highly tactical 90-day strategy to help you hit that 99th percentile score. And we aren't just relying on guesswork or generic advice here. We're mapping out a very clear step-by-step blueprint derived directly from top percentilers and exam experts who have conquered this exact high-stakes environment. Now, the ultimate anxiety for pretty much every aspirant is that looming deadline. The big question, is 90 days actually enough time to get ready for one of the toughest entrance exams in the country? Well, the answer from the experts is a resounding, definitive yes. Before the rise of these massive multi-year coaching monopolies that kind of dominate the industry today, a 3-month prep window is actually considered totally standard. It completely dispels this modern myth that you have to lock yourself in a room and study for 2 years straight just to be competitive. You really, really don't.
Because here's the secret. The magic number isn't some genius-level IQ score. It's 400. Passing this exam simply requires about 400 hours of intense, heavily focused work. Think about it like this. You have a student who studies aimlessly for 2 years. They get distracted, they forget concepts, they burn out. Now compare them to a hyper-focused sprinter who condenses 400 hours of pure, high-quality concentration into just 90 days. The actual volume of effective effort, it's exactly the same. Ultimately, the CAT is designed to test your baseline ability to grasp concepts, make rapid decisions under serious pressure, and keep a cool head. And all of those are skills you can absolutely train and sharpen within this strict 400-hour framework.
So, to prove how doable this actually is, we are going to follow a clear roadmap. We'll start with the 400-hour blueprint, then move to stage 1, which covers the first 40 days. Next, we'll hit the 80-20 section strategy. After that, stage 2 for the next 30 days. And finally, stage 3, wrapping up those critical final 20 days.
Okay, part 1, the 400-hour blueprint.
To hit that 400-hour mark over a roughly 12 to 13-week period, you need to carve out about 33 hours a week. Let's just walk through the psychological reality of this schedule because, yes, working professionals and busy students absolutely can pull this off. It means looking at a typical busy Tuesday and finding 3 to 4 hours. Maybe you're waking up at 5 a.m. to knock out 2 hours before the rest of the world is even awake, and then you're putting in another 2 hours late at night after dinner. Then you basically treat your weekends like a part-time job. We're talking a heavy 8-hour Saturday session followed by 7 hours on Sunday. And yeah, you're going to have to sacrifice that extra hour of sleep, you have to skip the binge watching, and you definitely need to delete a few social media apps from your phone. But when you look at the cold, hard math, the time absolutely exists if you are willing to claim it.
All right, moving on to part 2. Stage 1, the first 40 days. To keep you from feeling totally overwhelmed, we divide our 90 days using the 40-30-20 rule. You simply cannot just sprint at full speed on day 1. Your brain actually needs progressive overload. So for the first 40 days, you are primarily absorbing new concepts and building an unshakable foundation. You're basically acting like a sponge. Then, the next 30 days, pivot into heavy revision and testing. And finally, those last 20 days act as your pure application and speed building phase. This exact segmentation perfectly guards against burnout because your daily goals continually evolve the closer you get to exam day.
Which brings us to part 3, the 80-20 section strategy. Now, during those first 40 days, trying to learn every single microtopic to 100% completion, that is a massive trap. Thousands of students waste months meticulously studying obscure topics that might yield literally one question on the entire exam. Instead, you have to lean hard into the Pareto Principle. Focus on the 20% of topics that yield 80% of the results. CAT is designed to test smart work and decision-making, not just rote memorization. You really need high-yield focus, identifying the fundamental concepts that the exam makers obsess over year after year, and just pouring your energy into mastering those. And here is where you gain a massive advantage by applying that high-yield focus to specific sections. Take QA, quantitative aptitude. Historically, arithmetic and algebra alone make up 14 to 15 out of the 22 questions. If you mastered just those 2 topics, mathematically, you are already way ahead of the pack. For DILR, data interpretation and logical reasoning, do not waste your time on endless theory. Jump straight into past year question sets. You want to focus heavily on logical puzzles that consistently repeat, things like Venn diagrams and tournament formats. And for VARC, verbal ability and reading comprehension, it is entirely about building your reading stamina. You need to read 3 to 4 complex passages, along with 5 to 6 verbal questions every single day. That trains your analytical reading muscles to push through dense text without losing focus.
Now, a quick caveat. You don't need a PhD in geometry or modern maths, but you do need to know the foundational formulas for these less common topics, including permutations and combinations. Why? Well, because incredibly easy questions sometimes pop up from these categories. You definitely don't want to get caught completely blind on exam day and leave free marks on the table just because a topic wasn't in your top 20%. Spending just a few hours learning those basic formulas ensures you can snatch up those easy points. All right, let's jump to part 4, stage 2, the next 30 days.
Okay, so you've hit day 41. The comfort zone of passively watching video lectures, that is officially over. Stage 1 was about learning, but stage 2 is where the actual score improvement happens. Look, passively watching someone else solve a math problem might feel productive, but taking a mock test is what actually moves the needle. You are now rigorously testing what you've learned. You're forcing your brain to recall information under intense time pressure, and you're identifying exactly where your logic breaks down in real time.
So you have to stop fearing the mock tests. Your goal in stage 2 is to take 2 mocks a week. And this is absolutely crucial. You must conduct brutal self-analysis afterward. If you take a 2-hour test, you need to spend 3 hours analyzing it like it's an autopsy. Why did you get that question wrong? Create an error log. Was it a conceptual gap, a silly calculation mistake, or did you just completely run out of time? Don't let low initial scores discourage you. This is a purely diagnostic phase meant to expose your weaknesses. And please, make sure you are doing this on a desktop or laptop. You have to build screen stamina to simulate the actual computer-based test environment. Okay, the home stretch, part 5, stage 3, the final 20 days.
This is your final sprint. Every single day in these last 20 days consists of 3 non-negotiable steps. First, you should have a dedicated notebook of shortcuts and formulas by now. Review it daily until it's practically second nature. Second, your mock test frequency increases. Test taking should start to feel completely routine, which helps remove any lingering exam day anxiety. And step 3 is vital. You need a heavy dose of PYQs, past year questions. Actually, scratch that. You don't just need them. You need recent past year questions essentially memorized. Because memorizing those past year questions can literally hand you free marks in seconds. Listen to this wild story from a 2024 top percentiler. Because they had so thoroughly reviewed past papers, they instantly recognized 2 repeated questions on the live exam. They didn't even have to write anything down or solve them. They simply marked the answers they had already memorized from the PYQs. That is 6 marks secured in about 10 seconds of work. In an exam where a single mark can result in a massive percentile jump, having that kind of edge is absolutely priceless. As an IIM Bangalore alumni so brilliantly noted, CAT is a certified non-genius exam. It's essentially a mental fitness exercise that overwhelmingly rewards grit. This expert literally looked around a classroom at one of the most elite, highly competitive business schools in the country and realized that almost everyone there, like 170 out of 180 people, was just a regular, smart person who was simply willing to outwork everybody else. The main differentiator isn't some rare natural intellectual brilliance. It's the sheer discipline to stick to a 400-hour plan when you're exhausted, stressed out, and pressed for time. Because if you don't commit to this, those next 90 days, they're going to pass anyway. They'll just be filled with random scrolling, unproductive junk, and ultimately regret. But now you have the step-by-step blueprint. You know the exact mathematical breakdown. Those 400 hours are just waiting to be claimed. So it all boils down to one final challenge for you. Will you sacrifice 90 days of comfort today for the career of your dreams tomorrow?